Welcome to the Automation Nation podcast, the show for business leaders, tech aficionados, and those who are just simply curious about where technology and business are going. Automation Nation is your gateway to understanding automation, AI, and the future of business. Don't get left behind. Tune in now and subscribe for more.
In a world where salesmanship reigns supreme, one man has risen above the rest to unveil the secrets of sales superpowers. Justin Michael. A name that resonates throughout the realm of revenue creation, has just set records that echo through the digital corridors of AdTech, MarTech, and SaaS startups. With his first book, Sales Superpowers, Justin Michael has achieved the impossible. It soared to the pinnacle, becoming the #1 new release worldwide on Amazon, igniting a fire that spreads across the digital cosmos. Join us as we embark on a journey through the digital cosmos, where the knowledge and insights of Justin Michael's sales superpowers guide us toward uncharted territories of success. Get ready for the sequel to a groundbreaking saga, where the power of sales is redefined, the legend continues, and the future is brighter than ever. Get ready to discover the next level of sales superpowers as we delve into the sequel to the book that changed it all. Coming soon, Sales Superpowers, the next chapter.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Automation Nation podcast. And I have this, somebody called this gentleman the Tony Starks of sales. I thought that was pretty nice. You should take that and codify that, Justin. So this is going to be a great show. Justin Michael is a world record-breaking outbound sales maven, okay, who has arguably built the deepest client acquisition methodology of all time, the Justin Michael method. I like the trademark JMM. That's pretty nice, man. But here's a nice stat. It's driven over $1 billion in pipeline revenue for 200 plus startups. So he's advised over 25,000 reps, but he's worked with 1,000 individually. So this guy knows his stuff. He knows sales, he knows technology, and he knows the psychology that kind of brings it together. Justin Michael, welcome to the Automation Nation podcast, my friend.
Thank you, Rob. It's an honor to be here. You've been such an amazing supporter since Tech Powered Sales came out. So getting the band back together, eh?
Yes, that's it. And speaking of which, you're helping bands get back together. You're helping bands and businesses stay in business. And I want to get to how you're doing that, because I think that's the most important thing on this show, on this podcast, these conversations. The whole goal is to, have a conversation that creates some seeds that's possible enlightenment for folks if they take action with those seeds, right? And then it grows into what we call prosperity fruit, which is your business staying open, your client acquisitions is happening consistently, and your methodologies are flowing in sync. You've helped a lot of companies do that, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting challenging the outbound paradigm of the last 100 years. Todd Capone wrote the Transparency Sale, and he was actually my sales trainer in boot camps at Salesforce a decade ago. And what you find when you study outbound prospecting is the same motifs and modalities are typically 50 to 100 years old. So I went through and looked across 7 different pillars and questioned them all. So the cold call itself, how we open cold calls, objection handling, emails, social selling, video prospecting, visual prospecting. I have in these books and methods challenged this from a neuroscience perspective, right? And it's a pattern interrupt. It's really interesting what the brain actually wants. And the way we've been prospecting for the last 100 years, since Alexander Graham Bell invented the telephone in 1876, in some ways is not in line. It's broken. So we'll get into
It
that.
is. And we're going to get into that. Thank you for that preview. That's a snapshot, a nugget, a crumb of what we're going to be talking about here, folks. Uh, Justin, what we like to do, this show is powered by Simply Automate. And so we have a question we love to ask all of our guests. And that question is, if you could simply automate one thing in your personal life, what would that be?
I think someone needs to automate laundry, like just have self-cleaning clothes like the Jetsons. Wouldn't that be lovely?
Fascinating thing is, you know, we're not far from that, actually. We're not far from that. And that's funny. That's literally laundry and cleaning is the top answers that we've gotten here.
Is that the number
Okay.
one? Yeah, I mean, clairvoyance, being able to see the future,
Ooh,
uh, being
ooh.
able to fly, walk through walls. I'm trying to think of the superpowers.
Oh, you talking? Okay. Okay. That's
Peace in
next
the Middle
level.
East. Can I say that? Is
Yeah,
that fair?
come on, you can say it. Say it and spray it, man. All right. So listen, sales superpowers. I told you, I saw a quote. Somebody called you the Tony Starks of sales. But the reason for that is you have these methodologies and understanding of how to use technology, right? And how technology should be used. But in regards to your book, what inspired you, like, to write this book, and maybe share something from your own personal journey you can reflect on?
Yeah, so it became evident in Tech Powered Sales, which was a bestseller with Tony Hughes. I think you interviewed me for that, that we were going
Great
to
book.
go through this incredible explosion of technology. And we sort of predicted ChatGPT and OpenAI 2 years ago. But the issue is blindly using these robot-based writing assistants is they produce writing that can be cheesy, it can be flowery, it praises too much. So what I wanted to do was 4 years ago when that book came out, I was waiting to release it, and I put out these codex guides, these 17 codices, and they're cheat codes for all sorts of different hacks with automation and tech stacks and emails and sequencing, parallel assisted dialing, ways to do this. And I wanted to write the operating system behind it. Like,
Mm,
how do you create an operating system for client acquisition that will last 100 years? Because it's aligned with the human brain. So if the human brain is 2 million years old or 200,000 years old, the neocortex, not much is going to be different in 1910 to 2010 to 2110. So no matter how many form factors of AI on the buying and selling and how much ChatGPT 10, you still have to know how to copyright in a persuasive way. You still have to have curiosity and empathy and understand how to construct something I call heuristics. So my
mhm,
father was a linguistics PhD, and what I presented in these manuals is that you want to use formulas and frameworks, not scripts and templates. And
mhm,
once you start thinking strategically with the Justin Michael method, it's unlimited improvisation. You
mm,
have unlimited tech stacks you can use, unlimited scripts, and it blooms like a fractal, and you come up with lots of ideas. And so
mm,
that's where I was going. I trained so many reps. Like I sat with hundreds of executives and took notes. And as they asked me questions about the methods, I just put them in the book.
mhm,
And luckily, I had
mm,
good editors in England, and that's I
mm.
just wanted to codify methodology. I mean, everybody loves the big methods for full cycle, like
Yeah.
Sandler, Miller, Hyman, Challenger, and that all deals with we have a customer in a way, we have some interest, and there's some good prospecting there too, but how do we get them down the funnel? And I was
Mhm,
thinking, how could I make the deepest methodology ever at the top of the funnel?
mm,
It was sophisticated neuroscience, neurolinguistic programming, social engineering, game theory, relationship dynamics, behavioral psychology, and smashed that all together. So I took from the
mm,
world of life coaching, business coaching, traditional
mm.
sales training, and I have used like Elon Musk first principles to deconstruct it into a sauce, right? And just
Yeah.
boil this thing and rebuild
Yeah.
it. And it's
That's it.
powerful. People are reading the book and they're getting meetings right away. This
Mm,
guy, Juan, he drove like 3 million pipeline in 90 days with the techniques. This guy, Luke Shalom, did 200K off one chapter. It's been
Hmm.
powerful. It's being compared
Formula.
to like the Challenger spin of Top Funnel.
Yeah. You said formulas and frameworks, and that's essentially it comes down to that the right formula and the framework that you can follow consistently, that you can follow. And this is, you kind of already highlighted on the opening, but let's talk about two key concepts from the book that you believe are game changers in the
Yeah,
sales industry. There's a lot. Again, I believe that everyone's aha moment is different from where they are in their journey. But from your perspective, what would you say those two are?
yeah. So one of the key concepts of this book is service-based prospecting. It's really about from the first meeting, really trying to serve the customer powerfully and give them an experience that they'd pay $200 or $500 for, and being a trusted advisor. But in the process of automation and personalization at scale or relevance at scale, how can you add value to trigger reciprocity? And what I
Mm-hmm.
think we need now, with the restrictions now on Gmail coming and the restrictions on the phone, is we need hyper personalization. So imagine you wanted to reach out to um, Robin, and you listened to minutes 7 and 16 seconds and said, subject line 7 and 16 seconds. And then, hey, you said this at that moment and it resonated, and we have this product or this vision. He's going to open that. It's really going to stand out, right? So
Mm-hmm.
um, there's a
Yeah,
concept in this book of
that's incredible.
service-based prospecting. There's a concept in this book of how do you synthesize and create hyper personalization, right? How can you do things that the machines might be able to but don't, so you can really stand out and differentiate right now and
Mm-hmm.
be that signal in the noise.
Wow.
um, it's a
Yeah.
two-part book, Sales Superpowers and Justin Michael Method 2.0. And the first book is about mindset, tactics, and strategy. And the second book is more like closing, presentations, negotiations, side hustles. So my clientele, like I've got a lot of people side hustling. 40% of 11 million tech sellers side hustle. They're picking up an extra 5 to 20K a month, doing
Mm.
coaching, advisory, consulting, and I started so my co-founder at Hype Cycle, this community, she invented a company called Hardscale.exchange, which is a coaching marketplace, and I'm involved in that too,
Mm.
because I think the future is a battle between the humans and the bots. Like,
Yeah.
how are we going to upskill our TQ? And TQ was my first book, Technology
Yeah.
Quotient, and
Yeah.
that argument was that we have EQ and IQ that we can improve, but we can
Mm-hmm.
also improve our TQ. And I want to go back to that, because if you have 100 reps that are all top reps, and one has mastered the sequences and the tech and the personalization, the chat GPT. So in book 2, I talk about prompting AI.
Mm.
Like, if you're listening now, have you thought about how to use advanced GPT prompts to do B2B
That's really
selling?
good. That's a really good one.
Yeah, it's a big topic, and there's like 12 different ways to do it. You can make it a game, you can talk to it, you can make it think, and based on different queries. And so throughout all the books are these GPT labs. And I have to thank Greg Meyer, who is my data czar at Outbound Works, and Soham Sarkar and Scott Martinez and David Youngblood, who all contributed, who are like GPT whisperers and farther ahead than me. But if
Mm.
you read these books, you're going to know things that only 1% of this market know.
Oh my goodness! You said GPT whisperer. I want to be one of those. I tell you. Listen,
I'm sure
because
you will.
there's nothing greater than being able to utilize technology the way you need to, right? And understanding what you're trying to accomplish and literally optimizing and utilizing it to its fullest capability. Okay, like this, to its fullest capability. Oh my goodness, man, it's phenomenal. You said you'll be in the top 1% just because most people, unfortunately, they're kind of caught up. They have paralysis analysis, or it's just too much information situation. I can go on forever with rhymes, but it's just not working out for them.
Yeah, so we have the big situation is this, like 75% of tech companies use sequencers. So
Mm,
we don't send a single email, we send thousands of emails automated. We don't dial the phone one at a time, we dial 3 to 10 at a time, and it creates noise. And then everybody gets ChatGPT overnight, and they just hit go, easy button. Okay, write my email. And I quote Michelangelo and say, you have to carve the angel from the marble to set it free. You need to be really specific about, like, it's like your sound, right? In music, like, carve that. Let GPT do the first mile of getting you out of the white space and building the sequence or building the messaging or subject lines. But then make it true for you. Is it your personality? Is it your acumen? Does it reflect the buyer's psychology? And so I get into that a lot in the book. So um, there's a self-driving Uber, but you're the person sitting in there, right?
Right.
You're the
Right.
control over the
Right.
bots. The other thing that
Right.
I think is really powerful is I've identified some new ways to close sales.
Mm.
Um,
New
and I've
ways
done,
to close sales.
yeah, so I have like a 7-step closing methodology that I use, and I would argue I could close 100% of the emotional sale. So I think there's two parts of a sale. There's like, can I get Rob to want the thing and see my value? And then there's the money conversation. But I can pretty much always get the value delivered with the framework, and then we can find the P&L and find the budget. So, you know, there's this technique I use called the fourth frame, which is a social selling sort of dance choreography, like a way to hold chats and DM flows over LinkedIn. And that chapter alone, I used to charge $10,000 just to see that. It was like my secret folder of like that method. It's in there. I think it's $6 on Kindle. Like, please review.
Yeah. My goodness, man. And that's yeah, that's pretty incredible. Um, so like what we have access to, the knowledge base, and if you could just take advantage of it. Unfortunately, what you just said it'll fall on deaf ears, and just a lot of people will miss it again because you hit the nail on the head. I didn't think about that. 75% of those companies just making noise. It's so noisy, and then here comes the newbies, and with their little noise as well. And so you have to be really in sync. So use the technology to expand your reach, but then use your personality, to reach and teach. So use your personality to drive your value because people want personality, especially these days, man. And I want to talk. I want you talk about that in both your books about using technology to expand your personality or the personality of your brand. So you can probably tie that into, what do you recommend some of the top tools to kind of lead those together?
Yeah. So, one of the tools I love is Grammarly Go. It's simple, but if you love to write, I've obviously been putting out hundreds of thousands of books now. Um, It also has sentiment and tone. So you can write something, you could say, write it formal, write it empathetic, write it inspirational, shorten it again, make it detailed, make bullet points, and you can just sit there running through your credits. It's a lot of fun. You also have Reggie.ai that's, automatically building sequences and workflows. You have things like Lavender, which, are helping you figure out that, a 50-word email converts 68% better than one that's over that. There's one called Substrata, which a friend of Oren Claps, this guy, Ori, uh, built it. And basically what it does is it looks at power dynamics. So if you're like emailing VCs, it's showing you the sentiment and like, are you persuasive enough? Are you weak? Are you strong? It's really cool. So I highlight a little bit of tech in the book. I also talk about clay.com. And clay.com is like this spreadsheet on steroids that pulls in like 80 different integrated data partners. And it can do a lot of personalization at scale. And someone that was a protege in a way was Eric Nowslowski, who's now gone on to do podcasts with Hermosi. But he is like kind of the face of clay.com.
Oh,
And he builds his amazing YouTube channel. So if you want to see where AI is going, that's a really cool one to check out. Just put
wow.
in like Eric Now Now into YouTube,
Okay.
and you can kind of see it in action. That's what I got.
That and that was just a little. It was a few. That was a speck of the big spark of technology. That's the thing about it, though. That's a speck, and people only need a speck because they get too much of a spark, it blinds them, right? And
Mm-hmm.
they can't do anything. So yeah, just take the speck, see what you need. I think it's really important and you talk about this too, and really understanding exactly what your need is and what you're trying to accomplish, and getting the right technology to line up for that specifically. Yeah, because for sure.
I in some ways wrote the Bible of tech stacks. With text powered sales, we went to hundreds of vendors, and we did that analysis. And so the point here is what's
Nice.
driving that.
Yeah.
What's the operating system behind it.
So we know the sales landscape is evolving faster than ever. Actually, faster than ever. Like literally faster than it ever has before. How does your book help salespeople adapt to some of the challenges and not just salespeople? We're all selling. We're all salespeople. Hello, every single person. So whether you have a product or service or an idea, we want to convey it to someone else. How do you help people? And how does your book and your material and your insights help people to adapt to some of these changes?
Well, I think there's a regulated environment right now. So there's been increasing regulation coming down from GDPR and CCPA in the 13 states. And what that's doing is really putting pressure on robodials and cold emails. So last week, Outreach released a report that, Gmail and Yahoo are capping the daily rate at 5,000 per day with a 0.3% spam flag. And I talked to this COO of retention.com about this. And basically, like, we have to think small batched and personalized. The era of spray and pray is going away. If we're doing big dialing, we got to dial with human hands. We have to do a little bit of research. It's becoming table stakes now. What's wild is I saw technology from Science with a C, CIENCE, and they have a calling bot, and you can ping me if you want to hear it, but it's basically an AI, artificial intelligence, NLP, neuro-linguistic programming. It's a human voice that calls, that makes the calls, and there's a live recording, and it's uncanny, right? And yeah,
Wow.
so that probably will be regulated, but it's so cool and
Yeah,
cutting
it's
edge. In
cool.
fact, my Audible of the book is recorded by a human voice, but it's an AI and it's hard to detect. Saved my voice 40 hours. So
Well, that is incredible. I love where technology is going. And I love it. I mean, yes, you have pros and cons with everything, but the things we're able to do and at scale and so much faster and better. All right, we're coming into the fourth quarter of our show. Here's our second simply question of the day. So we like to ask all of our guests if you could. And this is interesting because you automated just about everything, Mr. Starks. But having said that, if you could simply automate one thing in your business life, what would it be?
I think this quote gets misattributed, but the only thing certain in this life is death and taxes. So I would say like taxes automation would be awesome, but it's probably automated already.
Yeah.
But that would be fun to just never think about and just have it happen
Never think about it.
automatically. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? So
that's good. That's good.
has anyone guessed that one before? Is that new or has that
That's
been
new.
chosen?
That's
Okay.
a new one, man. That's a new one.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the psychology. I want to go back to that um, because I think that's a big one. You know, understanding the psychology can literally it transform mine. I mean, I had an understanding, and I've been on LinkedIn forever, before it had video. And when it first came back, I had a psychology of kind of like the spray and pray, because I thought that's what worked. But then as I spent more time on the platform, more time with more humans and people, I started to get an understanding of how you actually really want to communicate. So my psychology changed because I began to understand my environment. How do you help people without going through the experience and bumping their head a bunch of times? How do you help them understand the customer psychology process?
It's a great question. So, I'm not a trained neuroscientist or psychologist, but Earl Nightingale, who has some great stuff in a different area, he said, if you analyze an industry and you simply do the opposite of what everyone else is doing, you'll be wildly successful. So it's like one note. If everyone's getting the cold call, did I catch you at a bad time? Or can I get 30 seconds of your time? And you call up and you say their full name and wait, or you ask an open question, you don't pitch at the front of the call. If everyone is sending the same, like, hope you're doing well, and the same structure of message, and you send an image, right? So a lot of the psychology like I can tip people like, Abraham Maslow and the hierarchy of needs, what really drives humans.
Mm-hmm.
Also Robert Cialdini from, his book like Influence and Persuasion, that's really interesting. Daniel
Mm-hmm.
Kahneman and Thinking Fast and Slow. Been a lot of interesting neuroscience. I really love David Hoffeld, who wrote
Oh.
The Science of Selling. And then I've pulled a lot of inspiration from some of the top consultants in the world, like Alan Weiss, and David C. Baker. But ultimately, like, it's about cultivating curiosity and giving.
Mm.
To me, the floodgate was I started to play this game. I get on a call and I think, I'm not going to close this person. No profit motive. So we've seen what the profit motive can do to healthcare, to prisons, to the economy, like this seeking of closing, this commission breath. What if you could never close a person and you just have to serve them powerfully from go? It's the go giver from Bob Berg, right? It's a pay it forward mentality. So like I get the privilege to coach people and transform their lives for a
Mm.
living. I love what I do.
I love it.
And it's just never it's never about us. It's always about them. Just
I love
becoming
that.
more other oriented and you focused
Mm-hmm.
will transform your ability to drive top funnel, to prospect, to open. And then
I
there's
like
just a lot of reverse psychology that comes from things like, relationship dynamics and dating. And there's a lot of stuff we do really wrong when we reach out to
Yeah.
people. We're so needy. Needy is
Yeah.
creepy.
Needy is creepy. Needy is creepy, folks. That's the phrase that pays. Needy is creepy.
I
This
need to
man,
hat tip that one to a gentleman by the name of Steve Chandler, who I think first said that, but I want to give him credit. I just love that phrase.
Steve, we give you credit. All right, final question here, man. This is a big one. Here's a quotable. We want one nugget of wisdom you like to leave our audience to remember about automation in business, or just in general, what you speak on.
Yeah, so Einstein's definition of insanity is doing the same thing repeatedly and expecting different results. Everyone's trying to change their world and results to the outer layer, but it's really our thoughts. If we think negatively, we can't achieve a good outcome. But what's our identity? Who are we being? Right? So it's about the deeper level. If you automate bad process, you just amplify garbage. So slow down, put it on post-it notes, map out the process, and then go find the tools. Right? So yeah, that's my best advice.
I like that, man.
I gotta go because I gotta go back to,
Yeah,
build some robots.
yeah, that's it, man. That's exactly what we wanted to hear. And listen, thank you, Justin, for being with me and being with us. If you guys
Thanks,
got any
Rob.
questions, you can reach out to Justin. I'm going to put his book in the link in
Yeah,
the
it's
comments.
salessuperpowers.com. Very easy website. Sales Superpowers, just go there, all the books, and we're good.
There it is. There it is. Thank you, my friend. Thank you for joining us. And I'll be checking for your next book. But until then, I got these two. And listen, I'm trying to join, and I will be joining. I'm going to speak it in past 10 and future pace it. I will be joining that club in revenue gain to add to those numbers, my man. Appreciate
Thanks,
you.
Rob. I believe it.
Thank you. That's what I'm talking about. And if you are thinking about starting a business, or if you have a business, talking to people is something that you're going to have to do, right? And bringing value to people is something you're going to have to do in order for people to care about what you do. And using technology to do that will be the best idea. So check out Justin, his book. I'll put the link in the comments. Follow him on LinkedIn. And you always know you can follow us, follow me for everything automation, because a good automation can definitely change the situation. So until next time, adios.
Automation nation, automation nation, automation nation, around the nation, automation nation, automation. automation